So I've decided I'm going to share where I'm going next with videos I've been posting. I already knew that this was a direction I was going in, but I wasn't quite clear of how I was going to launch into this. But as I finished the DCCS website series, I got clarity that this is what I'm going to do. My whole experience leaving the DCCS and untangling myself from that big ball of yarn, that's a terminology I use that feels the most accurate. And I want to be clear that I never actually had the intention of leaving the DCCS, even as I started to unravel everything and started to see things as they were rather than how I pretended they were and believed they were. I held so tightly onto the hope that I could change the culture from within, which eventually I came to realize I could not. Specifically, I was not in a position within the DCCS to actually be the one who could actually change that culture from within. There's other people who could, but I eventually came to accept that that wasn't me. And really all I could do was to just step out on my own best I could, be accountable for anything I've ever done inside the DCCS, being conditioned in the culture, and just start to own everything and start on a path to reshape my own destiny. And as you can already tell, this video is going to be a little longer than some of the 1-minute clips I've been posting, aside from the DCCS website series, of course. And I feel like some of the stuff I'm about to do and stuff I have been doing, but I haven't made a big public announcement in a lot of places. Well, it's going to be my part. And a big part of that is just sharing my experiences and moving on to wherever I feel like my authentic self, my honest self takes me. Essentially just whatever I feel like I feel called to from my heart. So something I'm going to share with anybody in this video is that I've been writing poetry for, I think, close to 18 years now. I started when I was 15, a teenager still inside the DCCS. And I won't go into a lot of details right here, but essentially my poems captured a lot of my experiences of being inside the DCCS and my journey of discovering myself and untangling myself the whole way out. And it's come into the compilation of a book series that I actually have published as of about 2 months ago. I've gone to a couple vendor fairs. I've advertised my books in a lot of places. They're published. They're actually available for purchase on Amazon now. And there's a lot I'm going to be doing with this stuff. But one of the things that I did recently this year was I was inspired as part of my moving past the old stories and the beliefs from the DCCS and just acknowledging things for how they are, regardless of seeing the light in somebody and seeing somebody's potential and all of that. I started writing a small series of poems within my book to acknowledge things as they were and to honor them as they are and acknowledge how they're showing up regardless of whatever light I see in it or them. And one of the last ones that came out before I moved past this was a poem I wrote for the Order, or the DCCS. And I decided that after I finished my DCCS website series, then I was going to read this, and that was going to be part of my shift in moving past the topic and launching into what I'm doing next. Focusing on the future and the present, what's happening now, and creating new possibilities. Something that, rather than looking backward, I focus on what's possible now and moving forward to create new possibilities for the future, relationships, a new life, all that sort of stuff. And so what I decided I was going to do is I was going to read this for this video and share it with you guys. And I have it right here on the desk, and it's framed. I felt like I'll be giving it away to somebody possibly, but I just haven't felt who it gets to go to yet. So until then, it's just sitting here in my stuff. But on the background of the picture, it's 2 pages, one on each side. It shows a younger version of Eldon Kingston, and on the right side, it has an older picture of Eldon Kingston that I think it was just closer to the end of his life. And I'll also show that at the end of the video. Now, every poem I've ever written, it comes out however it comes out. That's just, that's just art. But this was the first one that came out in the style of a limerick, or the format of a limerick. And I love limericks because it's all about irony. And there's nothing more ironic than the tale of the order, at least in this context, where a community started with such a grand idea and such a heartfelt vision has gone to become something that it was never really meant to become when the seed was planted. So I'll just start. And it's titled A Vision of Peace, a tribute to the order. There once was a man with a vision who wanted things done with precision. So he started a plan, perfecting each man, and there so began the revisions. As each day began to go by, the time it then started to fly, and before he had knew, the community grew, bringing more questions and whys. For if there ever was such a thing, a perfection for each soul to bring, one thing that he saw is there must be a law that causes creation to sing. Yet as he started the work, he noticed the grumbles and irks that befell every man, causing stumbles to plans. Each person he found had their quirks. So this man began to compile a solid plan to go every mile, for every man and their wives to have the best lives, where all could be full all the while. Despite every man and his quirk, he knew that this plan would work, if he humbled himself, put beliefs on a shelf, making his ego berserk. For one thing he had solemnly found as the key to keep egos bound was the check of another, his own sisters and brothers. It must be the key all around. With a vision of peace as his goal, this man soon sought to control the mastery of mind, a heart so refined, and this did take a large toll. As days passed, he now did see clear, yet subtly crept in the fear. For even inspired, a man who conspired such a peace, he still shed a tear. So surely this man was afraid. All his hopes and his dreams he had made would possibly die. As he one day would lie in the ground, he would one day be laid. With a plan to guarantee lives, began now the praying and strives, that he might know the way, lead others to stay, ensure all he loved would then thrive. Before not too long it was up, his life it then ended abrupt. Yet he was so adored that the families were floored, raising him beyond the corrupt. What now? Came the cry from around. For such a vision and peace he had found. No other soul could compare to his depth, deep and fair. And in this the people were bound. For how do you pass on a vision, so carefully done with precision, when you trust more a man with a well thought out plan than you trust your own deep inner mission? With a plan then set so in stone, the community seeds had been sown. There was a set way, they would never from stray, and soon were now separate, alone. As years passed, it became an obsession, every person, idea, a possession. It strangled the heart that had been since the start, causing a deep soul recession. Deep down in the soul of perfection does the ego destroy this connection, for a heart pure and free as one symphony needs little, but still much reflection. For a vision of peace standing tall, desiring a place for them all, it needs boundless trusts that restores, never rusts, dies every day in free fall. Oh, city and people of light, I see your deep struggles and fight. To exist as you choose, no desire to lose that which you feel is aright. I sing now this tribute to you, standing so clear and so true. I love you so dear. You have no thing to fear. It is time for rebirth anew. I see your conviction of heart. I feel deep the place in your start. A man with a dream, daily sown every seam, now torn deep with a pain all apart. Every death is a start in a seed, every fruit that does plan to succeed. The pain crying out has become a sharp shout. The room, it is past time to read. As the man who began such a place had inspired by a humbling grace, it is time for return, for deep is the yearn. All the pain now is worn across the face. I long for the pain to be done. Surrender this war never won. Finally to feel wounds so they heal. A vision of peace, truly one. So that's what I wrote as part of my acknowledgement and farewell to the order, the light that I see, and acknowledging how the DCCS and the order are showing up today, regardless of whatever light there might be covered up inside, and whatever things have shifted for it to be how it is. And so I'm just gonna show this really quick. I reached a point in acknowledging that there may be light there still, but it's not something that can be ignored of the behaviors of how things are. And there's not one thing that can be shifted by one person, but just a lot of people stepping into accountability and acknowledging the truth for what it is, and either that or face the clapback that's going to come if people don't start acknowledging issues and see how that is. But, you know, all it takes is one person at a time to share their experiences and to acknowledge what's going on, and that's how things change, and that's what inspires people. And as far as I'm concerned, the only pathway forward for the DCCS to even have the opportunity to shift is to be accountable, and people face the results of choices, and frankly just for a lot of honest heart-to-heart conversations between family members. That's what I see as the way forward, but ultimately I can't decide that for anybody else, and I've been doing that to the best of my ability, and the rest is up to other people. Because really, a vision like what Eldon Kingston had is not a unique vision really to anybody. Like, a lot of people have visions of wanting to have peace in the world. It's just all a matter of being accountable along the way and just not getting in a rush. And being honest. A lot of accountability. And keeping a heart in the community. As for me, though, I have reimagined, restructured, and got my studio back up and running. Bloodwolf Arts Studio is my studio. And what I'm doing is I'm going to create a link in this video somewhere. I'm going to figure out how to do that. But I have a TikTok channel that's going to be specifically reading and writing short stories, poems, because that's something I enjoy doing. And I'm going to start with going through my book series. And I'm still deciding of how I want to move this forward exactly, but I am also going to be including the backstory around every poem I ever wrote, so there's context, and essentially my life story through poetry is what I'll be sharing And so if people are interested in following along and being a part of my journey and listening to what that's looked like so far, I've already realized that my first book captures a lot of the beliefs and the struggles I experienced inside the DCCS. That's the first book, first volume, and then the second book, it captures a lot of the struggles of when I started to acknowledge everything was falling apart, and the process of everything changing. A lot of my stuff changed in my second book. And my third book that I'm currently writing has been a lot of the results that I've experienced since acknowledging truth and being accountable and living life from my heart and trusting myself again. So feel free to give those a follow, and I'll see you on the other side. Thanks for listening.